Now, the Minister of Justice, Mmamoloko Kubayi, recently announced that a list of convicted sexual offenders and gender-based violence perpetrators will be made public by the end of February this year. In the past years, Action Society has made submissions as well as public campaigns demanding that the registry be made available. Now, the list is made public in an effort to curb femicide and keep parents more informed. Let's talk more about this with Action Society spokesperson Juanita du Preez. Juanita, thank you so much for the time. Appreciate it this morning and for joining us here on Newzroom Afrika. Let's focus on, let's start on how significant this is then in the fight, particularly against sexual violence and gender-based violence overall.
Yes, we are very, very happy about the news. It was a bit unexpected. I actually went last night and looked at the speech of the minister, and it's not even mentioned in a scripted speech. So it was a bit unexpected, but it is so welcome because it is so important. We've been arguing for this for years, and the great thing is now we, or at the end of February, if everything goes to plan, you will be able to protect your children, you and other vulnerable people. You will be able to check that list and make sure that your loved ones are not in contact with possible people who could hurt them very much.
Yeah, I think there's two issues I want to try and focus on there that you just made note of. Why was it so unexpected, especially considering that you had been petitioning for so long? The conversations perhaps had been had in the background, but was it just something that the government had initially said that they would never do? Or do you think that it was just a case of the announcement sprung up so suddenly?
I think it might have been the announcement because there's always been resistance to the register being public. And the reason why is that it's about privacy, the privacy of the perpetrator, the people on the list, but also their families, which we do understand. But when you do something like this, I think it is more important for other people to be able to protect themselves from this perpetrator. And maybe the perpetrator should have thought about that before doing what they did. That's our point.
I want to also, what happens though? I mean, we're talking about a convicted perpetrator of sexual violence and gender-based violence, that is as well. This is assumedly somebody who would have served time of sorts, I would assume. Please correct me if I'm wrong on that front. So if that is the case, are we not hoping that this person would have actually been rehabilitated, thus not needing to then put this list out, because that just keeps the stigma, if we want to put it that way, against this person? I'm not necessarily speaking for them. I'm just wondering if we're looking for a society that rehabilitates, that aids, that forgives, that tries to make people better, is this list perhaps not going to go against that?
Well, two things. As far as I understand it, it is not after you have been rehabilitated. It is as soon as the court order is processed, then it is sent to the list. So you will be on the list while you are serving your punishment, and it is part of your punishment. Then speaking about rehabilitation, I spoke to some other media on this as well. I'm just not sure that rehabilitation is happening in South Africa when people go to prison. It would be the best thing if people were rehabilitated, but it just doesn't happen in prisons at the moment. There are too many people, and the wave of crime is just too much. I don't think there is time or capacity to do rehabilitation, and that is why we have a high recidivism rate, which is also a very big problem, especially when it comes to sexual crimes.
Yeah, so of course the first port of call then becomes the safety of all those who might be impacted or affected by those perpetrators, importantly as well. Is it a case then that this could also raise a bit of violence? And I worry only because once one person is known to be this way, some people may take it upon themselves to inflict kind of, let's call it a mob kind of justice, you know, and that could create really a society we don't want.
That is also a concern that we are aware of. And that is where we want a holistic approach to this. If the police, visible policing, is working properly, then we won't have a problem like that. And if the court system is working properly, then we won't have a problem like that, because people will know they will get their punishment. Unfortunately, I'm not sure that we are there yet. And I'm not sure if how many details of the perpetrator will be on the list. If it is a name and a surname and say an ID number, we have argued before that maybe it should be the picture of the person so that you can identify them. But I don't think it is necessary to put the location where this person lives on that list to give them a bit of protection, because everything is not working as it should. But for me to identify this person who's working with my child and to then rather say I would not like that, that is what we want.
So what will this list then look like? Will it have things like somebody's face? I mean, you've said that you're hoping that it doesn't have things like address, because perhaps that's not necessary, but certainly name, and perpetration that this person made. What else do you think this list will look like?
Well, we're not sure yet. What it does look like at the moment, the one which is not available to the public, it does have all the information. It's got the name, surname, identity number, resident of address, and the crime the person was convicted of. All of that is in, and the punishment, or the, what do you call it? The sentence, that is on there as well. But it was so unexpected, so we don't know exactly what will be on the one that will be publicly available. We also don't know in which format. Will it be on a website? Will you need to go to a police station, for example, to access it? That's all something that we are waiting on to see how it is working. The best would be if it could be accessible, say, via a website for easy access.
Yeah. What do you think, or if you have any estimations with regards to how much this could actually reduce femicide or gender-based violence of any kind as well, or sexual violence for that matter? How much could this impact that exactly?
Well, it is difficult to say. I'm sure that it will have an effect, and it will cause a lot of people to think twice before they act. And I mean this on the victim side. For children, I would say it can be a great improvement, because the responsibility will now be on parents to make sure their children are safe from people on that list. But what we find in women, in older people, is that unfortunately you have partnership, or what is the word again? When it is in a relationship, we see that it happens time and time again, and for some reason, or many reasons, women they make a case, but then they withdraw it because she's sweet-talked, or she's afraid. She doesn't have any recourse outside of this relationship. So then the responsibility will be on the victim to say, listen, this person is on a list, maybe I should not go close to them, but it will be their responsibility. But for when it is children, definitely it will have a very favorable impact.
Juanita, just as a final question, if somebody is wrongfully convicted of any of these crimes then, and later, unfortunately, a number of years later, is indeed found to have indeed been wrongfully convicted, how exactly does this necessarily help them, or not?
Yes, again, if our court or judicial system works exactly as it should, then we should not have wrongful convictions. We are in the year 2025. We have technology, we have DNA, we have everything to prove beyond a doubt that something really did happen. Unfortunately, it does happen that people are wrongfully convicted, not that often, but it can happen. But even now, you can apply to have your name removed from the list. It depends on the type of crime that you committed, of your sentence, and so on. So you can apply to have it expunged.
Yeah, very interesting, because just in the last financial year, the Police Minister, Senzo Mchunu, actually wrote that 4,135 wrongful arrests had been registered, averaging around 11 incidents each day, just if that was necessary. Look, this list is going to be very important for the health, for the safety of South Africans as well, for the pertinence and knowledge, as well as all those who need to indeed know when a sexual predator or perpetrator is in and around them as well. Juanita, appreciate the time this morning. Thank you so much for joining us. Juanita du Preez is Action Society spokesperson. They're joining us as the National Register for Sexual Offenders is set to be made public. That will happen at the end of February.